To sum up the morning, I think during the whole morning we heard how machines are really getting close to humans, and there's a sort of blended relationship that most people here actually showed us the enabling part, but also talked to us about the challenges. We have four representatives of very different perspectives of the industry. So I would start with Ishai, the co-founder of, I would say, the most successful EdTech product, a very successful EdTech product in Israel that actually is being used all over the world. Ishai, how do you, if we carry on with this trend, how do you see impacting the educational, the EdTech world?
I think, when it comes to AI, there's no more argument about the promise and the fact that the impact that we're all expecting in this field as well as in most of the other fields that haven't been fulfilled yet, this impact will be huge. I think if I were to offer the startups perspective, what characterizes where a lot of startups are is that clearly in order to achieve meaningful results with artificial intelligence and machine learning, there has to be the right treatment of data. Gathering the correct data, framing it in a way that protects the subjects and the owners of the data. And so I think, this is one, first of all, this is one key. And if we don't get that right, we're not going to get anywhere. But so a lot of the startups are still trying to solve, in their specific niche of operation, how it is exactly, how they're going to solve this chicken and egg problem of, I promised to solve something very meaningful with the AI, but until I will need to penetrate the market with that solution in order to gather the data that is needed in order to develop that solution. So I'm in kind of a loop conundrum, and in order to solve that, I need to get creative approaches. Once that is done, I think then we have the data, we can analyze the data, we can develop the right algorithms, and then the impact is indeed huge as we expect.
Totally right. Thank you. Professor Jihad, from the higher education point of view, how do you see this trend really speeding up and impacting higher education?
First of all, if we are talking about AI and machine learning, I think it's kind of obvious that machines can process images and audio much faster than a human now, and this is maybe the aim. In terms of higher education, we have major problems in dealing with the education kind of flow. I would like to kind of classify this into two classes. One is administration, and the other one is pedagogical. So in terms of administration, we need I hope that machine will allow or help us in order to determine which students are appropriate to accept, what really the parameters we need to accept students according to them. For example, in computer science department, we accept student based on in Israel, they're in matriculation exam and psychometric exams. And we know that these are not really, we have studies that show that these are not really perfect or not even close to good measures. By the end of the first year, we need to get rid of at least 3% of them or 25% of them. So we lose 25% because we're not able to classify them correctly. The second is actually how we follow up with the students. For example, I have just like last week, a talk with one of my colleagues. So students who fail the first term, or at least one of the exams, we need somehow to raise a red flag or yellow flag and in order to be able to follow up with these students. No one is doing this because we accept every year in my department, we accept 450 students in every year, and we have in total 1,600 students. So we don't have the capacity to follow up the performance of this. And this is in order also, this is one issue. The other problems we're having now, students submitting assignment, and the grade. Who's going to grade these grades? So we have, in one course, for example, Introduction to Computer Science, we have 500 students. Everyone submit like 5 to 6 assignments. We cannot grade them. The problem is more severe in math. No one is actually grading them, and the students end up not doing them. This is another problem. Another one, which is exercising. Students, like at least in the academia, would like the students kind of to expand their knowledge and the practice. So most of the practice, I believe, will be able to be able to do automatically. We need the people to guide them and train them and actually to be there. Right now, the kind of all these kind of like remote courses with 100 of thousands, I don't think these are the solutions. Like all these kind of massive courses, which is like enrollment of like 150,000, end up the number of students who graduate from these courses end up to be something like 20,000, which is, so this is not the solution. So hopefully we'll be able to kind of like have the human touch and the talent of the machines combined in order to provide the help needed. Students sometimes are just coming and they need someone to talk to them. So they need to be some jobs in there. It's always kind of like this, where is the boundary? It's actually, now I see everybody talking about machine learning and AI, and always I'm actually of the fear of the 80s. Like late 70s, beginning of 80s, people or scientists have similar hype, and then we end up actually facing the wall of computational power, like storage capacity, and all these things, which is we have overcome over the last 10 years, and networking. I don't know what's the next barrier we are going to face, because somehow we are doing very well when the problems are well-defined. We engineer our data nicely and feed them to the machine learning engine kind of in a proper way, not really, and kind of also distributing the data adequately, engineering this very nicely, we get a good result. And actually amazing results when we see how computers generate automatic video, generating all this dancing, all these things are not really something which is, but when we are coming to broad AI or machine learning that can learn from general without engineering and having the annotated data, we are kind of facing like challenges and serious challenges.
Thank you very much. Donatella has actually led an important digital transformation in Italy. So I would like you to focus more on K-12. I think Professor Jihad mentioned serious human challenges and the importance of blending with the machine, and also serious, in a way, I would say, technological or machine challenges, in a way that we are getting to a peak, if I understood right, and we might be able to freeze there and actually not carry on going forward. I think K-12, the problem is even worse. Kids are extremely frustrated, just not there anymore. How do you see this trend, in a way, enabling us to provide a better K-12 system?
Well, I'm speaking here with a double hat as a former advisor at the cabinet of the minister. I've been working at the Italian ministry for 6 years, and together with my colleague here, Damian Lenfrey, we designed and implemented a very big policy about innovation in education in Italy, investing over €1 billion, so 1.2 billion euros. And when policymakers deal with, especially K-12 education system, they focus about infrastructures, physical infrastructures, or developing curricula, or teaching methods, while the gap that we saw was lack of information about how this very huge environment with very big numbers is actually working, and how such a diverse environment, very spread throughout very different socioeconomic backgrounds, and with very different learning attitudes of students, then could be managed to implement what's the public education goal, which is the education for all. So technology comes as an infrastructure and a tool, and AI especially, and an evolution of what has been done until now on the basis of perception. I've been helping and designing the national assessment system in Italy, which is with the goal of improving every single institution, education institution as an ecosystem, based on a lot of quantitative data. So the set of indicators was about like 50 indicators. Most of them were quantitative, coming from gathering of activities and dynamics of the schools, dealing every day or every year. The kind of teachers who were there, the socioeconomic background, the infrastructures in the school and the classrooms. And some of the indicators were based on perception of teachers, of students and parents. So if you introduce here dynamics based on AI, you will see this perception, who of course are contaminated by biases and other dynamics, improving and giving you some feedbacks that you wouldn't have otherwise. So AI could be an opportunity of refining these national evaluation systems for policymakers. Not only for decision makers at the national level, but this assessment tool that we developed in the last 6 years is for the use of school principals and teachers themselves, who could then apply all the methodologies, the personalized learning, and make most of the use of platforms for that. As a different challenges, I mean, I would say an opportunity here, you would need to reflect on AI-related skill sets, and not only as a profession or as a skill to develop in order to not to be in the 70% of jobs who will disappear in 20 years, but as a complementary skill set that you would need to have in order to relate to an environment where AI is there. So I'm thinking about philosophy, for instance. The new challenge that me and my former colleague there are embarking in is an innovation center in Italy. And the first partner that, except for MindCET, which is our privileged partner, but the Italian first partner that we are dealing with is the most traditional college in philosophy, Italian college, who analyzes methodologies and way of teaching philosophy since childhood. So the skill sets related to AI is
major, yes.
And the last thing is about ethics. We've been seeing about piloting AI in the classrooms, yes, as a support, as an assistant to the teachers. But what about, and this is a debate that is starting to spread out, what about kids relating to this gadget, this voice recognition gadgets? Shall we teach our kids to be polite to them? I mean, we know a lot of drunken friends in the night yelling at Siri with broken hearts, but shall kids need to be taught to be good-mannered with AI?
It's a great question. I love it, actually. It's true. We actually had a pilot in MindCET where we found that kids, when relating with chatbots, they develop a sort of emotional relation. And they really get upset, say the bad word, and they say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. They know they're talking to a chatbot, but they do develop this sort of emotional response. Last but not least, our partner, Pierre-Antoine, from the EdTech ecosystem perspective, from the helping develop such ecosystem, where do you see the implications of such trend there?
This works. I was there last year. When I left, after listening to Rose Luckin talking about artificial intelligence, I was quite optimistic. I thought I understood things. Today, I am totally challenged. I think this is the less politically correct conference I have seen in years, so congratulations. And this is a gender success. What I mean by this is the following. What we have seen this morning are two parallel streams. On the one hand, you have all the artificial intelligence guys, the scientists, the big companies, the Googles, the Microsofts. They don't really care about what education specialists think. They are just running, and they are developing tools that obviously can be used for learning, but they have their own agenda. On the other hand, we have the education specialists, the education visionaries, the education experts that have their own view, their own constraints. We are always more talking of constraints than our strengths from the education perspective. We do have all set of problems, all set of resistance. We also want to be politically correct. The minister was there, and he made a very good speech, but it was the day after the back to school day, so he also said the teachers have a future. We hope he's right. But what I would like to say is that these two parallel lines, obviously, they will never cross. And the problem of the EdTech system is that if the EdTech system is in the middle, there is a big issue. And I think that what we have seen in the past couple of years is that there is a slowness from the systems, from the education systems in adopting the new, or what you may call innovation. Spain, France, Italy, Israel, the US, there are very few innovative schools. I mean, we are talking of reduced numbers. So all this creativity, all these strengths, whatever the artificial intelligence can give us is not yet translated into real innovations and real changes in the schools. And so from the EdTech perspective, if you just choose the AI line, you will never cross the education line. So I guess there is a need to rethink and reposition ourselves, and certainly to work much closer to teachers. And there was a lot of things that was said, but once again, I think this is one of the richest conferences I have seen in years.
Thank you, Pierre-Antoine. So following what Pierre-Antoine said, we want to say bye-bye to all of you. Thank you very, very much for being here with us, and really hoping this have inspired everyone. I think we are all, everyone that has been here, and also your friends and everyone, we have the obligation to help transform educational systems. We have students that are actually very frustrated and suffering, and seeing we are all here. Let's get everything that we learn here and try to bring all this, as Pierre-Antoine said, to really make real impact in what's happening out there. Thank you very, very much, and see you all in Shaping the Future 6.